Okay, I just want to take a look at another couple of quick tips and tricks, and then also a couple of other features that you can use within the OneNote notebook. So again, the screen that I'm looking at is my desktop version of the OneNote notebook. Maybe later we'll take a look at how this would look when we look at it from within Microsoft Teams. So what I want you to see is I have 6 clear folders that are visible in the notebook: my Collaborate folder, my Library folder, and my Supervisor folder, and then the next 3 folders are the folders that belong to the individual students. When I open the folder belonging to any individual student, each of them has a subfolder called Protocols, one called Writing, and one called Lab Daybook. And we looked at one little trick with the Lab Daybook a little bit earlier. I just want to make a suggestion with regard to the library folder and some of the things that you might expect to put in the library folder. Because the documents in the library folder are documents that live there effectively untouched from the student perspective, because they can't edit them, they can merely read the documents, or they can download a copy into their own folders. This is a good place to have a document repository of important documents that you feel students may need to access repeatedly. So suggestions might be, for example, you may put some health and safety documents present in the folder. What I've done here is take a health and safety folder, and I have made 3 sub-pages on it, one for MSDS, and what we would just put in here is just insert links to the MSDS documents, or indeed we could insert printouts or PDF documents containing MSDS information. I have a page called Risk Assessment. This could be a link to a file, a Microsoft Word document, or an Excel spreadsheet that lists or tabulates the risk assessment, or indeed it could be a table that tabulates risk assessment, which you put de novo into this particular page. And then finally, it's possible also to insert documents such as Microsoft Forms. And here, what I'm suggesting is you could put in, for example, a COVID health declaration form can be embedded within the substance of the page, so that on every occasion that the student needs to fill the form out, perhaps right before they come to work or right when they arrive at work, that they can simply go to their OneNote notebook, go to the COVID declaration, and they then have a sign-in point. This will take them directly to the COVID declaration form, and whoever is running that form can see the input that the student has made straight away. And other features might be, for example, using a reference list. So you could put a table in here and put in a list of references, or you could just drop in links to the references, or indeed printouts for the references that you want to make available to your student or students. And maybe you want to give them some information on how to cite and how to reference the documents that they're going to be reading as part of their project. And here what I've done is I've initially just dropped in a copy of a PDF document which I have on citation and referencing. One of the things I can do is not just leave it there as a link, as you can see here, but if I right click on it and I go insert as printout, it will actually expand that document so that now within the page citation and referencing, you can actually read the content of that PDF document while retaining a link to the document at the same time as well. So that's some ideas as to some stuff that you might put in the library. I'm sure you've got lots of ideas yourself as to what you might use the library for. I wanted to show you one other thing as well, which I think is worthy of note, and it goes back to the Lab Daybook concept that I was talking about earlier, and particularly the concept about the use of pre-formatted or stylized Lab Daybook pages that may be specialized for particular experiments or for particular days in the lab. And I just wanted to show you a couple of things you could do in addition to that. So under Supervisor, I've added a new folder here which is called Lab Template Pages. And if I expand that folder, we'll see that under Lab Template Pages, I have 2 subfolders, one called RT-PCR and the other called Dissection. So let's begin with the RT-PCR page. So if I take this section, I see there's one page in the section, and this page is called Experiment Number. And this is the same page which I showed you before, which could act as a base page or a template page for a lab daybook. And I'm going to suggest that this page is actually a suitable page for a lab daybook when you're doing an RT-PCR experiment. I've set this particular page structure, I've set this as the default template for the RT-PCR folder. So I'm just going to go yes to that. Now I'm going to be using another template in a moment. So one way in which I would like to distinguish this particular template from the other templates, I can accomplish by going to the View menu. This is something that you can do as a matter of aesthetics or as a matter of organization. But what you can do is go to the paper color, and for me, I'm going to take for an RT-PCR experiment, I think a pale blue would be a nice color. And then I'm always a fan under paper style of gridded paper. So I'm going to put a pretty large grid on here. And this now is my template page, which is used for recording RT-PCR experiments. And although you won't be able to see this, if I go down to the Add Page tab at the bottom of the page here, and I click Experiment, we'll see that actually the experiment, the new page, opens as the original page without the addition of the colors or the lines. So in order to accomplish what it is I want to do, I'm going to delete this page. I'm going to go back to the experiment page, and then remember, I want to set this as template. So if I go to this and I set as default template, and I choose yes, now if I add a page from this folder, any page, it will always have this blue background. Maybe the student I'm working with is also doing some dissection to obtain materials for an RT, for doing RT-PCR on particular tissues. So here what I've done is I've set up a basic dissection page. It has some information at the top, cadaver number, gender, site, and region. I have a standardized line diagram of the knee joint that can be used for recording observations about the soft tissues of the knee, which is maybe what this project is about. I have a reference image here taken from an app which shows some of the structures, soft tissue structures that I would expect to find around the knee joint. And now maybe I want to customize this page a little bit. I think for dissection pages, I think pink is probably a reasonably good color. So we can see I've changed the color. And in terms of the paper style, I'm not particularly fussy, but for this one, we'll just say we'll make it with a series of lines because we're going to make observations and we're going to write in underneath. So this is a pretty good looking page that I might use as a template for recording dissections. So again, what I'm going to do is select that page and I'm going to go set as default template and choose yes. And now all the pages that I make based on this will be pink and lined as shown. There's a menu at the top here called the Draw menu. It has a few useful things that you might want to use or a student might want to use. For example, if I wanted to color in maybe part of my line drawing, I could take the highlighter pen, which I have here, and I can take my highlighter pen and I can begin to color in this region of the drawing here. So this is a color that will sit on top of the drawing. Perhaps what I want to do is point to one of the ligaments. Maybe I've made an observation about that. So what I'm going to do is draw an arrow in onto that ligament. I'm just using my mouse here to do this. And maybe this is observation number 2. So I'll put a number 2 beside it. So again, a set of tools. They're relatively crude, but they are useful and they can be useful in recording information and observations. So what I want to do now is find a way to distribute these new template pages that I've made. I want to distribute those to the student or students that I think are going to need them. So I have my templates contained in these 2 folders here, and I have an enclosing folder called Lab Template Pages. So the first thing I'm going to do is choose a student that I think needs these, and I'm going to go with the first student here. And within this student, I'm going to add a new grouping here. So I'm going to choose here, and I'm going to put a new section group because I wanted to enclose 2 folders, and I'm going to call this section group just templates. Now the student has a section group called templates. You'll notice that the other students don't have this section. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm then going to take the folders, first the RT-PCR folder, and I'm going to select it, and I'm going to copy this section, and I'm going to move it to templates under that student, and I've done that. And then I'm going to take the dissection folder, which contains the dissection template page, and I'm going to tap on it, and I'm going to copy that section, and I'm going to copy it to the templates folder for that student as well, and go copy. Now when this student goes to work, if she wants to add some pages to her daybook, she can just go into templates. She can go to RT-PCR. If she wants to do an RT-PCR experiment, she can take either of the 2 pages which are here just now, and she can copy those pages into her lab daybook. So here it's going to be copy page 2, and it's her own folder, and it's going to be into her lab daybook, and go copy. And maybe on the same day she was going to do a dissection, so we're going to take this dissection page. This one has some stuff filled in, so I'm going to add a new dissection page here. That's a blank one, and what I'm going to do is take this, and I'm going to copy this page, copy page to lab daybook again. So I'll just repeat that, and now if I go to her lab daybook, what I'll find is that there is a page called experiment 1. There's a page called experiment. These are from previous ones. Here I have one called experiment, and this one is a PCR experiment, and I know it's PCR because the background is blue and I've got squares and I can tell from the title top. And here's a dissection page that I've put in, a blank dissection page that contains it. So this is a pretty easy way that you can set up and give access to students to pre-configured structured templates for recording the day-to-day activities that they're engaging in the lab.